Today we are talking with world record holder Dean Matt. Traveled the country, played in a bunch of states in a very short period of time. But before we get to that, we need to talk about our newsletter and the content that you're missing if you're not subscribed. So check that out. Pretty much daily content from the newsletter. Also, check out our merch page. We got merch from other people as well. Links in the description. Also, check out the link in the description here for Pickle Nation. They have some pretty cool stuff as well. Santa Barbara happy as well. And also all the discounts and things in our links below, including shoes, paddles, you name it. Okay, let's get to that interview with Dean, the world record holder. And he's a pilot too. How cool is that? All right. Hey, Mucho Dinero, the pickleball pilot. Welcome to the Senior Pickleball Report. Dean Matt, how are you?
Mike, nice to meet you. Doing well up here in 95-degree Florida today.
Wow, 95. How much humidity?
Yeah, it's nice. It's humid. Yeah. By this time of the year, it should start going down a little bit. So we're looking forward to that.
Yeah, same here. Not so much humidity. I live in New Mexico, a little drier, but currently raining outside. So I'm enjoying the moisture, that type of humidity, because we need it desperately. I live against the Gila National Forest, which seems to be on fire lately. So this will put some of the smoke out at least.
Good deal.
Yeah. So let's, before we get into, obviously, some of the amazing things you've done, not only with your playing and on the pickleball court in the recent months, but let's figure out and find out how, like all of us, this goofy little wiffle ball game has come to take over our lives. And how did it capture you?
Well, I didn't know anything about pickleball till about a year and a half ago. My wife and I moved down to Sarasota from Chicago, and we moved to a golf course community. Never heard of pickleball before, right? So we're 2 years into this, we're playing a lot more pickleball than golf. I tell people when I golf, I lose like 3 or 4 balls around, and I've been playing
much, actually.
I've been playing pickleball for a year and a half. I haven't lost one pickleball yet.
That's actually a good way to keep track.
Yeah.
Yeah. And golf balls are expensive.
Yes, they is.
Yeah, right on. So came down to Florida. Obviously, we're in Chicago. I grew up in the Milwaukee area, so not too far from you.
Yeah, Naperville's a western suburb of Chicago.
Yeah.
And my wife's been coming down here since she was a kid. She's got 8. She's one of 8, and her brother lives down here, so we kind of chased him down here. And her brother, by the way, looks just like you. I gotta send you a picture. Let the viewers decide.
Right on. In Naperville, I actually I ran college track, and I set my mile PR in Naperville, actually running at Northern Illinois University. So that's a long time ago.
Yeah. Good for you. What was your record, by the way?
I ran my freshman year. I ran 4:16 for the mile, and then I was about done. My hamstring started to bother me, and I was never the same after that. So I limped around for another 25 years off and on, and did some other things with it. But once pickleball kicked in, my knees just couldn't do both. So I prefer to do the sport that's a little more fun, and that's pickleball over running any day of the week.
That's serious speed, 4:16. So I didn't start jogging. In fact, I probably never ran a mile in my life until about 5 years ago. Then I did, 5 miles a week, would be my track. And I was running on asphalt. Hurt the knee, hip replacement.
Yeah.
When I run down here, I still run, but I run on the beach. And so it's a nice cushion.
Nice. Very nice. So obviously, another connection I have with you a little bit, you're a pilot, and I met my wife in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, home of EAA, and I worked security there a couple of years. Have you been to that event?
I was there once, but I drove up. I would never fly there. In fact, there were two crashes up there this year. 3 people died, I think, but
yeah,
I'm not one of those pilots that gets excited about tinkering with mechanics and looking at the newest planes that come out. That's
Yeah.
not me. I just want to get in the plane and go someplace, here to there and
Yeah.
back.
Yeah. Right on. All right. Let's talk about, what you did this May. Obviously, a lot of coverage on this. You were going to do 48 states with played 48 matches in about 48 days. So tell us what happened, just kind of a thumbnail, and kind of touch on some of the logistics of putting something like that together. That's just not, you just can't wing it.
Yeah, good observation there. The event, I entitled it the 48 48 48 Pickleball Challenge. It was going to be 48 pickleball matches in 48 states in less than 48 days.
In less than 48 days. Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't going to take 48. It just
Yeah.
had a nice catch to it, a nice ring
Right.
to it.
Right.
Like
Rolls off the
Biden,
tongue.
it kind of rolls off the tongue, as
Yeah.
people say. So I did planning. I started this in November of last year with an idea. I talked to a guy down here that I met playing pickleball. He's also a pilot, and floated the idea by him. I always wanted to combine my love of aviation and going around the country doing something. Now, when I was golfing, I thought it would be playing 48, rounds of golf.
Right.
And there's actually, Guinness World Record categories for something like that. They didn't have one for pickleball, so I worked with them to get a category going
Okay.
for
Yeah.
that. So I did all the arrangements. The guy I was going to go with is a real. I call myself a fake pilot. I've got about 2,000 hours. He's
Yeah.
got 18,000 hours, and he does this
Oh.
for a living. I only do it for a hobby. And I did all the logistics. I would do the routing, and at each stop we needed a place to play, people
Right.
to play, ground transportation to and from. We
Right.
needed the media to come out and cover the event, and if it was an overnight stop, we would need accommodations. So
Wow.
I did the route through my piloting software and stuff like that, and I kind of kept it as tight as I could. So, for instance, I didn't go up to Seattle. I mean, that would be an obvious place to go for pickleball, but that's
Right.
just too far out of the way. So I kind of skirted Portland, Oregon, and Vancouver, Washington. They're right over the river from each other.
Right.
In
Right.
in Texas, for instance, Dallas or Austin would be a good pick, but I went up into the Panhandle, Amarillo, just to keep it kind of in the central as much as possible. So I came up with
Sure.
the route. I estimated it would take about 80 hours and 26 days and 9,000 miles,
Okay.
and it pretty much did exactly that. So one of my trepidations before I took off is, geez, I hope I got the estimates right, because the last thing I wanted was to be an hour late to each stop, and oh, sorry, I can't do you Friday like we planned. Now we're going to do you Saturday, and you that was going to be on Thursday. We're going, it would have
Sure.
been a nightmare. So I turned the key on May 1st at Sarasota Airport on my plane. The plane started, and we
Good
were off
start.
to the races. Our first stop was Mobile, Alabama. We played at the Mobile Tennis Center, which is the second largest tennis center in the country behind Orlando.
Right.
And we were there right on time. We were picked up. We went to the Mobile Tennis Center. We played our first match. The media was there. We're humming along. Everything's in the books. So I'm thinking, okay, we got a chance of getting this done. So that's kind of what kept me up at night, is all the planning, etc.
Sure.
So where I didn't know anybody, I would just call the Visitors Bureau, or a lot of states have sports commissions.
Okay. Yeah.
Like out in Albuquerque in New Mexico, where you live.
Mm-hmm.
Albuquerque, I've been there before in my plane. It's right on the way between Amarillo and Scottsdale.
Right.
So I've done that several times before. Out your way, I actually played with the mayor, Tim, I think Keller.
Oh, right
Yeah,
on.
Tim.
Cool.
Yeah. So it was a big event out in Albuquerque. There were 3 or 4 television stations out there, hundreds of people watching us play, and that was
Fun.
Tim's first time playing pickleball ever. He had his
Oh, wow.
kids up there. So I mean, that's the kind of crowds I encountered all throughout the trip. But yeah, 6 months of planning. everyone that I talked to was like, "Yeah, we want to be part of this." I mean, all the cities that I picked out on my route, they were all accommodating. Now, none of them are going to make any money. They weren't going to lose too much money either. They had to
No.
pick me up at the airport and put me up in a hotel, and my traveling partner, whoever that would be. And I did travel with about 5 different people throughout my trip. As it turned out, the guy I planned this with, a week before we were going to take off on May 1st, he had to back out. He had a work commitment he couldn't get out of. It pained him. And so I'm thinking to myself, well, I'm not scrapping this. Everyone's
a lot of work in.
Everyone's waiting for me. So literally within about 6 hours, I made some calls to my pickleball friends. I said, hey, can you join me along my route? So the first guy was from Sarasota to Kansas City. His name is Ron Keenan. He got off at Kansas City, took a big plane back home. I traveled solo by myself up to Portland, Oregon, where my wife met me. She flew out on a big plane, and she stayed with me through 4 states through Salt Lake City. Now, the reason she went out there is because she's been to 48 of the 50 states. She has never been to Oregon or Idaho.
Oh, okay.
So she flew the big plane out. She flew the big plane out to Oregon, and we got she would play with me Oregon and Washington, Vancouver, Washington, and Eagle, Idaho. And I had a plaque made for the 50. There's such a thing as the 50 state club for people to go into all 50 states. So I had a plaque made. I gave it to the mayor at Eagle, Idaho, and he presented that plaque to her. So she got a big kick out of that.
New paddle company, Pickle, PCKL, great paddle line, great price points. Anything you want from starter paddle to intermediate to a pro series high level paddle. Check them out. Get 15% off using my discount code. Pickle. It's the future.
Are you looking to stay up to date on the latest pickleball news and tips? Look no further than the Sleeve Senior Pickleball Report newsletter. Get the scoop on the sport, learn how to stay healthy while playing, and find out about upcoming tournaments. Subscribe now to get all the pickleball info you need.
Out west, I did about 2 states a day, and because it's kind of long, big states out there, right? Yeah. And then when I got past Salt Lake City and headed back east, I would do 2 to 3 to 4 states a day.
Holy cow! Yeah.
So we were really cooking. Some of the longest leg I had actually was from Florida to Mobile, Alabama.
Yeah.
And that was 3.5 hours.
Okay.
Because we had hellacious headwinds. We had 60-knot headwinds, which
my goodness.
Yeah, in fact, we actually left a half hour earlier because of that, just to keep on time. But once we get, and we were flying, 10 to 16,000 feet out west to get over the mountains.
Right.
Once we turned back east, I was counting on, having tailwinds, and we did have tailwinds, but it didn't make up for the big headwinds we had going on.
The 60 knots, right?
It never worked. It never works out that way. But a lot of the flights out east, I kept the altitude to about 6,000 feet, because by the time you get up, you're going down. It's a half-hour flight.
Right.
Like, New Hampshire, Vermont, Maine, all in one day. That's 20-minute flight, but 20-minute flights between them all. So, so I was able to combine my love of aviation and pickleball at each one of these stops.
Right on. So how long? Like, what was a long day for you? Like, you got up at blank and went to bed by blank.
Yeah, good point. So I would be in the air about 8 o'clock.
Okay.
Meaning, we get up at 6:30, have breakfast at the hotel, get driven to the airport, get there about 7:30, pre-flight and all the flight plan and all that stuff, get in the air about 8 o'clock. And then we would try to be on the ground, or we tended to be on the ground after our last stop around before sunset, around 6, 7 o'clock at night. And then, sometimes we would play the last game at 6 or 7, get to the hotel about 9. I go to bed pretty early and I wake up pretty early. But the one thing I didn't count on this trip, Mike, is all the social media stuff I had to do.
Oh, yeah.
I started to do a blog on my website, and that was the first thing to go. So what I kept up with was Instagram, telling the story on Instagram, and then LinkedIn, and then just getting all the links on my website to all the news coverage. It would be, typical that, for instance, in Albuquerque, I think we played there at maybe noon, and then I'm off to Scottsdale for the night. I would get to Scottsdale and I would look up the TV stations in Albuquerque, see that they had the coverage on there, and I would link those stories to my and the links are still there. So there's a lot of, like I said, a lot of coverage.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously, so how did you sleep? I mean, you're running around, you're changing time zones. Did you rest?
The first 2 nights I had a very tough time sleeping. In fact, I probably got close to zero sleep, probably nerves and
excitement,
not getting into the routine of things. But after that, I slept. I slept pretty well for myself.
Yeah. I mean, obviously that's important. You're flying a plane, and So
I was going to say one thing I was curious about. That all the cameras asked me 2 things. What are you going to do when you get home? Or I guess it was one thing. So I would always say, I'm going on vacation. I said, because this little lap around the country isn't much of a vacation.
Right.
It's nice to see all the sites. And I've been in all these states before one time or another. Yeah. But the other thing I was very curious about is, am I going to gain weight or lose weight on the trip?
Oh, right.
And before I took off, I kind of wondered, am I going to be, I'm going to be eating at a bunch of fast food places, stuff like that. Am I going to gain weight or lose weight? And as it turned out, even. I left at 183 pounds. I came back at 183 pounds. I think, I didn't eat the best, but I didn't eat a lot either, So we were on the go.
Right on. So which states didn't you get to in the lower 48?
So when I got to Salt Lake City, I got my wife the next morning to the big airport, and she was going to meet me back in Chicago. Mm-hmm. We still have family there, and I was going to be there a couple, 3 days later. That was on Friday, May 12th. We played with Elise Jones out in Salt Lake City.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Very nice. Her and her husband had a date night to play with us.
Cool.
We played at Club USA Pickleball in, I think it was South Jordan. I think it was Jordan, Utah. So she was very nice. And then my wife got in the big plane in the morning, and then I checked the weather forecast the night before. I'm like, oh my God, it's going to be icing up in the clouds. And Salt Lake's surrounded by mountains. There's only one way out, especially if you go east. You have to climb over the mountains. And I had to wait it out for 2 days before the icing cleared.
Okay.
So that meant that I'm running 2 days behind. Now, I had a choice to make. I was supposed to go that Saturday to Casper, Wyoming, and Billings, Montana, and then the next day to North Dakota, Bismarck, North Dakota, and then to Omaha, Nebraska. Okay. And I mean, I've been there personally myself, and these guys were looking forward to having me come out. In fact, the news crew kind of say, "Are you still on track to be here tomorrow?" Yeah. And I said, you know what? I made the decision just to cancel those stops altogether. And here's my thing. If I didn't cancel those stops, everybody else would have got pushed back 2 days, and I still had 30 stops to go.
Yeah.
So I kind of gave up on my goal, achieving my goal of 48, but I still set a world record going to 44 states in 26 days playing pickleball.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you got to, at some point, because obviously, things come up when you're doing something that's on a schedule that tight and you're flying around, and obviously weather impacts everything, but most of all flying. So I think that was actually a really good decision, because you could have thrown the whole thing into a tailspin of trying to reschedule things and all that. So
my goal before I took off, and that's one of the things that kept me up at night. My goal in the back of my mind is to disappoint as few people as possible on this trip.
Sure, absolutely. Where did you play in Wisconsin?
We played with Dave the Badger Weinbach up in.
You did play with Dave, right on.
Yeah. Oh, it was a fun time up in Sun Prairie, which is a suburb of Madison.
Yeah, that's where I went to college, Madison. So.
Yeah. So when we got up there, it was a traditional like Wisconsin event. They had the polka band out there. They had bratwurst cooking.
Yes.
There was a big crowd up there. Dave is out there. You know, Dave, he's a funny guy. He's out there getting the crowd ready. And we had a great time playing with him. That was one of the most energetic stops, I'd say.
Wisconsinites know how to put on a party. So I'm glad they did not disappoint. And congratulations to Dave for doing that and holding up his nickname, the Badger. Right on, man.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, obviously this big event, and again, congratulations, because that's no small feat. But you seem like a guy who's up for challenges. So is there anything next that you want to try and do and pull off?
Well, when I got back here on May 26th for stop number 48 in our country club here, I played with my wife and a 93-year-old guy named Vince Golden, and I played with him this morning.
Wow, Vince Golden, great name.
Yeah, he's from Kansas. He's a good Midwesterner, and he went to the University of Kansas. He was in I think he was in the Army, and just a good guy in great health. He still drives his own car and everything.
Right on.
He was the guy I thought would be the show stealer. Hey, I played with 93-year-old Vince. We played with a woman up in Kalamazoo, Michigan, 97 years old.
Oh my goodness.
Minnie LaPointe. And she is the mother of Yvonne Hackenberg. And Yvonne and James Hackenberg are senior pros playing pickleball. I don't know if you've heard of them.
I have. Wow.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. So Minnie, and she was a sweetheart. People didn't come out to see me play. They came out to see Minnie play. And I wouldn't have it any other way. She's just a good soul, a real sweetheart. Here's how, and she does the same thing. She cuts her own grass. She drives her own car. And she goes out and plays pickleball. Great. You got to have great balance at that age to play pickleball.
Yeah, absolutely. It's no joke.
So she was getting interviewed, and then I was going to be next to be interviewed, and they interviewed her up on a hill. So they were done interviewing her, and she reaches her hand down because I was going to help her down the hill. She's pulling me up the hill. She's helping me up the hill. So that was a very memorable moment. Out in Colorado Springs, we played with Scott Moore.
Yeah, Scott Moore. Yeah, senior pro, phenomenal, Hall of Famer.
Yeah, the GOAT. We played with some 2 ex-governors. We played with NBA and NFL alum. We played at a variety of places, including Park District courts. A lot of people were proud of their Park District courts. And the whole event was just a chance, to cover this world record attempt by me, right?
Sure.
But it was really to get the cameras out so they could brag on their new courts or their new facilities or what's going on.
The win-win, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so it was. That's why people wanted me to come there, because they had an excuse to get the TV stations out there.
Yeah. What was the most obscure place you played? Like most rural, or wow.
Yeah, we played at the 3 private residences.
Okay, cool.
One was a private training camp. The guy built a barn up. This is Vancouver, Washington, a barn, and he had 2 beautiful courts in there. It's on my Instagram page if you're interested in seeing it. And he trains people, fly in from everywhere, and he trains them up there. He likes to keep a low profile. Out in Virginia Beach, we played at another private residence. That's where ex-Governor John Lynch came to play with us.
Right on. Yeah.
And out in Sacramento, we played at a private California. We played at a private residence too. Booking California was kind of tricky for me. I wanted to play in Palm in the desert out there, right?
Okay.
La Quinta or Indian Wells. But I had conversations with them, but I didn't have their mind share. They were having a lot of golf tournaments going on. So some lady in Sacramento heard about my event, and she called me up and she said, "Hey, are you still looking for a place in California?" I said, "Talk to me. Tell me what's going on. What do you got?" They live on a private runway. They've got a private pickleball court, and their kids is on the U.S. water ski team.
Oh, wow.
And they live on a private water ski lake. So I said, that works for us. We'll play there.
Yeah, I'd take that one too. Right on.
Are you looking to stay up to date on the latest pickleball news and tips? Look no further than the Sleeve Senior Pickleball Report newsletter. Get the scoop on the sport, learn how to stay healthy while playing, and find out about upcoming tournaments. Subscribe now to get all the pickleball info you need.
Are you going to try and top this? You're going to do something else? What are you going to do with this playing and pickleball addiction you have?
So, true to form, we did take a vacation. In fact, we've been flying up to St. Simon Island in Georgia.
Yeah.
So, Georgia just has a little bit of the coast, and there's a few islands, Jekyll Island,
Yeah. Cumberland Island, I think, or something. Yeah.
There's a lot of golfers that live there, and in fact, the PGA is going to have an event there, the RSM McGladrey, something in November. They've played there before. So for us, that's a quick little vacation. It's about an hour 45 minutes by plane. They've got a nice. We're already kind of tapped into their pickleball community there. We have people picking us up at the hotel now, so that's easy for us to get away. So we're going to do that. We go with another couple, a few times here and there. We've been to Biloxi, Mississippi, gambling and stuff like that. And we always get back to Chicago a few times a year. But for next year, I kind of partnered with Alex Greer. Alex runs Funky Pickle Productions, and if any of the viewers here have heard of the Savannah Bananas, which is kind of like the Harlem Globetrotters of minor league baseball. Well,
they're big on TikTok.
Yeah, and Alex is kind of running think of it as a block party for pickleball. So
fun.
He's been in Miami and Atlantic City, and he'll set up these events. It's not just a tournament. Between you and me, tournaments are kind of stale.
They're a little dry, yeah.
There's a lot of them. I mean, we need something else. We need to have fun. So he's got like a block party for pickleball. There's bands, there's food, food trucks, there's entertainment, and we play some pickleball and have a little pickleball tournament there. But the event is just to go out and have some fun. So we're combining him and his company with my love for aviation. Again, we're going to do fly-in pickleball tournaments. So a lot of airports have fly-in breakfasts, pancake breakfasts. Right. That's a big event for the year. So we're just going to get started next year with about 4. We think we're going to have one out in Lakeland, Florida. Okay. Chicago, Omaha, and we're looking for one other place, probably out west. Maybe out there. Yeah. And it's a way to kind of marry the pickleball community with aviation. And everyone we've talked to about it so far, both on the pickleball and aviation side, the airports we've been talking to, they're in. They want in on this in a big way. So we're going to have some fun doing that next year. I'm retired, so if I'm not doing that, I'm playing pickleball or golfing or in the pool.
Yeah. So how's your game?
Oh, that's the other thing. Remember when I said I didn't want to disappoint people on my trip? That was the one thing I wanted not to do. Yeah. I disappointed people in every stop that we went to because they thought I'm really good. They must have thought, wow, this guy's going to set a world record. He's flying all around the country. I'm just average, So I disappoint. Yeah. So what happened? We go to these towns and they bring out their ringers,
like Elise Jones.
They bring out their 5.0 players, and I'm just a 3.5, So I got my butts kicked most of the time, but it really wasn't about keeping score. But while we did keep score, I won 45% of my games and lost 55% of my games.
That's pretty good considering the travel you're doing and the amount of sleep you're probably getting at times.
But it was all half-hearted, and we're just out there having some fun, with
it's
all sorts of people.
More about the event. Correct. More about the event. Good big picture perspective. Well, right on. I mean, that's impressive. And I look forward to see how the next event goes with the fly-ins because it sounds like a can't miss to me. I mean, it sounds like a really cool party atmosphere. And especially if you got, these folks that are flying and these airports that are excited about doing it. I think that's half the battle is getting folks fired up. And I don't know, pickleball seems to just do it with very little effort. You introduce the sport to people and they're like, wow, this is really, really fun.
Yeah. Well, there's an organization. I've been an aircraft owner. I've been a pilot since high school, 47 years or whatever. And I've been an aircraft owner for 30 years or whatever. And there's an organization called the Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association, and they represent general aviation. They're out in Frederick, Maryland, right outside of Washington. They
Sure.
lobby Washington and all that stuff. And, they promote aviation safety and general aviation and try to keep airports open and stuff like that. So I've been a member for 47 years, ever since I got my pilot's license. I never was out at their headquarters. So my stop in Maryland by design was the AOPA headquarters. So what we did is we landed the plane at 10 o'clock in the morning. They had the court striped out on the tarmac for us.
Right.
We rolled a portable net out. We played our game, and then we took off, all within an hour. So that was probably the first time pickleball has ever been played on an airport.
Yeah.
And so we're just going to keep doing more of that with these aviation pickleball fly-ins. So they're all behind it. And, pilots are always looking for a reason to go in their plane and do something. Usually it's, they call it the $100 hamburger. Now it's probably $200 because, they take their friend flying. They go to a restaurant, they get a bite to eat, and they come home. And that's the event. So we're going to do this with aviation. So think of Omaha, Nebraska. I mean, we're going to be pulling in people from Colorado and Kansas and the Dakotas and Iowa, all that. It's a nice little 2 or 3 hour flight for people to do, and then it's not just for the pilots to play. Anybody in the local community could come join the fun as well too. So
right on. Plus, I mean, like you mentioned, airports, big space, flat, sounds perfect for courts.
Yeah, we're going to be playing in hangars. That's kind of one of the criteria. But along the way, people kept. People kept asking me, and I kept telling them, I said, I've met just the nicest people across the country. None of them could care less about professional pickleball.
Right.
They just want to go out there and play rather than watch. And what's been going on the last couple of weeks is kind of a disaster. Contracts are not signed. A lot of the pros are not happy with the PPA. I ran into people that had PPA events. They didn't put the courts back how they were supposed to, so there's a lot of bad blood with the PPA in particular. And, I would say they're not running it professionally. Good thing for the athletes. They're getting some money finally out of the deal. But I think hopefully something comes out of these people getting together where they got better ownership or better something, because nobody, they do have some TV audience, but it could be a lot bigger. But, think of what baseball did. It took baseball 100 years to screw up and piss off the fans.
That's a good point.
Until Cal Ripken had to come back and save baseball. Remember that?
Right. Oh, I do remember that very well.
In the 80s or 90s, he saved baseball. It took these guys a year to screw up pickleball. And, who knows if the fans just don't care. They just want to go out to play locally.
And I think that's the beauty of it, Dean, is that, I agree with you. The same, the amount of people that I play pickleball with or have played pickleball with, there's a great deal of them that they still don't have any idea there is a thing called professional pickleball. And, some of these folks have been playing pickleball for years, and then you tell them that there's, several pro leagues, and they're like, what? And then you start telling them the drama of what's going on within these things and the amount of money being thrown around and in some of, like you mentioned earlier, some of the logistics of things being run on the amateur level that's, help funding these leagues. That's not exactly done in a way that's supporting amateur pickleball. It's sad, but I always look at it this way too. It's like, that's such a small portion. And many people could, like you said, they don't give a crap. They just love the game. And if there's pro pickleball, great for, people that are into it. But if there's not, I think this game marches on because a lot of people enjoy it for, I guess, more reasons than watching the highest level people in the world play it. So,
yeah, I mean, I went to 2 pickleball tournaments. One was a PPA event in Orlando last December, and the other was APP in Daytona. I had fun at both events. I got my picture taken with Ben Johns and a lot of Tyson and all this. But you know what? Once is enough for me. I don't know if I'll ever go see one again. I watch it on TV here and there, but I'm not glued to it. It's so confusing. They had the MLP draft last year, and I'm thinking, okay, these 4, this team has these people, and then
they redraft.
And they did a redraft. I don't get it.
And then another draft, and then another draft. Right.
We're lost.
Yeah.
See, that's the confusion when they're trying to get traction That's the stuff that just confuses people. Now you got three tours out there, and they're pissing everybody off. So
it's a mess. And hopefully now that there is, again, a merger, and I use quotes because, who knows where this is going, that they can, finally get some footing. I enjoy watching professional pickleball. I want to watch MLP this year in Arizona. I do watch it a great deal on YouTube because I'm just fascinated with the game. But at the end of the day, I ask myself, like, would I go to an event and pay whatever, $60 a seat? Probably not. At least, but I've never been that guy on many levels. Like, I'll go to a baseball game once a year. I go to an NFL game about once every decade and a half. I think I've been to 2 NBA games in my life. I'd rather watch those things from the comfort of my own home than go spend a lot of money and then have to buy concessions, which is usually more than the ticket itself after you leave those places. So that's really not my world. I do enjoy watching it, but more from a venue of the comfort of my house.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's always nice to, like, the Chicago Bears are playing Tampa Bay this Sunday.
Right.
It makes logical sense for me to go and watch Chicago play Tampa Bay, but I'm just going to watch it from our pool.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I feel like I'm, excuse the language, I'm sort of getting too old for that shit. Like, I don't want to go and with all the yelling and all the waiting in line and all the jerseys, and I'm kind of over it. Yeah. Right on, man. So, hey, I appreciate your time, Dean. Links in the description if you want to find out what he's up to lately and what he's done in the past and some of the things he's talked about. We'll have all those links in the description. So find him on social media and reach out to him if you can, because he's obviously great conversation, great storyteller, and totally appreciate you giving us the time here on the Senior Pickleball Report, Dean.
Yeah, well, thanks, Mike. Pleasure to meet you.
All right, folks, I hope you enjoyed our interview with Dean. Lots to check out in the descriptions, all the links again below. And hey, at the end of the day, let's pickle. Hey, if you're looking for very, very comfortable court shoes, in fact, the most comfortable court shoes I've ever worn, and I've worn a lot of them over the years playing different sports, try Fitville. We have a link in the description that gets you $20 off your purchase.